Welcome to the podcast of All Means All. In this episode, Beausetha Bruwer, Victor Tan, and Maria Moscato will talk about inclusivity in outdoor education.
From a systemic and transformative perspective, inclusive education is a dynamic process aimed at creating a culture that embraces otherness and values every possible difference. For this approach to be effective in terms of empowerment, sustainable development, and coexistence, it must be grounded in theory and practice in a virtuous circle of knowing and transformative action. This concept aligns with the United Nations 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development, which harmonizes economic growth, environmental protection, and social inclusion. Schools play a fundamental role in creating an inclusive society. John Dewey described the school as a place of community and growth, crucial for transmitting social values and forming individuals' intelligence and character. The learning environment must ensure access and participation for everyone, requiring an imagination of educational processes and close collaboration among schools, families, and communities for well-being of all. Outdoor activities are particularly effective in fostering inclusion, promoting accessibility, participation, and equal opportunities, contributing to a more inclusive and supportive society. Literature highlights how outdoor education embodies theories and practices that value the external environment as an active part of education, promoting cognitive, social, and emotional development. It is a journey of personal discovery where the individual becomes the architect of their path. Outdoor education connects learning with real experiences, emphasizing the bond with the local community and the natural environment. Outdoor education connects learning with real experiences, emphasizing the bond with the local community and the natural environment to develop a sense of respect and belonging, thus forming responsible citizens and communities. It promotes environmental awareness as skills to address global challenges, focusing on the relationship between individuals and the environment in order to develop human potential. It is an educational resource with three fundamental components: self, others, and the environment. Self refers to personal development. Others includes interaction and cooperation. Environment provides knowledge and challenges involving the surrounding. Discussing outdoor education from an inclusive perspective means focusing on the skills educators must be equipped with to conduct such activities. Educators must understand learners' benefits and needs as well as the practical application at all schooling levels. It is also fundamental to balance the value of risk and challenges, not forgetting stakeholders such as parents and caregivers. To do that, the first step educators are called to is to reflect on the purpose of outdoor education.
We must understand and never forget that the learners continue to be the focal point. It has been well established that through playful activities, both learners and students constantly learn to explore who they are. They develop physical attributes and that are important for their overall well-being and for their health. Through outdoor activities, they get unique opportunities to deepen their knowledge and comprehend through hands-on experiences outside of the classroom. Outdoor education represents an innovative approach to education that goes beyond the traditional in-class method. And risky play is one such example that is an innovative way and an approach that can be used, especially in introductory phase of outdoor education.
Can you explain the concept of risky play and why it's crucial for children's development?
The concept of risky play is about a type of play where children are with intent and being conscious about it themselves are taking risks. because they're seeking the thrill, or they want to try something a little bit difficult, or to just test the boundaries of risk and what they are able to manage. So risky play is play, like physical play, that is thrilling and exciting for the one who's engaging in the play. It's unpredictable because you don't know what's going to happen, if you succeed or not. And the kind of more objective risk in that kind of play is that it might go wrong. So you might experience an injury or an accident, or in the worst case scenario, even death, when engaging in risky play. The benefits of it is that, of course, for the one who's playing, it is thrilling, it's exciting, it gives you a lot of experiences with different kinds of emotions. You feel, exhilarated, you could feel fear, you could even get sad if you get hurt. So you're experiencing a lot of emotions. Also, children are attracted to this kind of play because it gives them good and positive, thrilling and exciting feelings. And if you are actually mastering the risk that you are encountering and trying to manage, you will also get a very intense mastery feeling. And the overall experiences that children have when they're engaging in risky play will also be beneficial for their learning and development. The benefits of risky play would be, of course, the positive experience that children have when they're engaging in risky play, the here and now perspective. I think that's really important. The joy, the exhilaration, and the thrill that they are experiencing, and also a lot of mastery feelings. And in the moment, that is, really positive for children. Give them as many such experiences as possible, I would say. But having all those experiences, of course, would also build their self-confidence. So they would learn about themselves, they would learn about their environment, they would learn about what is possible for them, what their bodies are capable of doing, what their bodies are not capable of doing, and also they would learn what is safe and what is not safe within their kind of close environment and where their actions are. So self-confidence is really important, I think. Comes from feeling that they are actually mastering something. They have control over their own decisions, their own actions. So that's really important. Of course, when doing or engaging in risky play, which is a very physical and bodily activating kind of play, they also would gain a lot of motor competence. Motor skills would be enhanced. They would also get a lot of more of physical qualities, such as physical strength, endurance, balance, reaction skills. So they would get bodily more competent. And we do also know from research that it also builds resilience, and that it actually is also preventing psychological illness. So it has an anti-phobic effect. Children are learning how to cope with stressful situations, with feeling fear. They would also, learn that it's possible to master things that they are fearing or being anxious about. So there's a lot of benefits concerning that. Another part is that it also builds social skills. So we know from, for example, a lot of research on rough and tumble play, that children are learning a lot about social signaling, about power relations, being strong or being less strong, and adapting to each other's strengths. And also, of course, doing risky play, it is in a way also problem solving. You have to solve how to manage a risk, and in many ways it also brings out a lot of collaboration between children. So it's also problem solving skills alone or together. So a lot of positive benefits, I would say.
Outdoor education involves taking learning experience outside of the classroom or for an authentic investigation so as to develop and apply practical knowledge. Outdoor education utilizes interactive and experiential learning methods, fostering engagement, motivation, and deeper understanding of learning topics. Conducting classes outside of the classroom enables a direct link between classes and the outside world, which in turn inspires learners' drive and interest and give educators this unique chance to enhance their teaching practices. The primary goal of outdoor education is to provide learners with optimum learning conditions directly derived from experiences, which can be a powerful tool for developing critical thinking, teamwork, problem solving, and emotional intelligence. Outdoor education provides opportunity for integration of different subjects and disciplines, allowing learners to connect various aspects of knowledge and understand their application in the real world. Experiences gained through outdoor education, outdoor activities compel educators to integrate activities inside and outside the classroom to create a favorable environment for education. One question that always comes to mind is the context of outdoor education. Outdoor education can take place in any context that provides fruitful experiences and help you to reach your objectives of your lesson. In a natural context, it can be the immediate school environment, it can be the forest, it can be a nearby park or open recreation area. In the urban environment, it can be the museum, it can be an art gallery, it can be a community center. Educators should not feel solely responsible that they need to know everything or come up with every outdoor activity. They can involve local community organizations to co-construct activity. Many countries use outdoor activity in early years of childhood education. It should not stop here. We should continue with it as it is significant and valuable in later years as well.
Because it is difficult to discuss everything under the sun, we provided 3 case studies in the chapter to illustrate how inclusivity doesn't mean replanning or redoing the entire lesson. What is crucial is the awareness of the key learning moments of an experience and the challenges that learners may encounter. These distinctively different case studies showcase different activities that engages with stages of development in self, others, and environment. In combination with a variation of inclusive practice, these cases serve as an example for beginning teachers to draw inspiration from. These case studies are authentic experience of people in this project, and it showcases how inclusivity consideration can maximize learning experience for all. Central to all 3 cases are meaningful and purposeful design of the lesson, coupled with the focus on needs of learners. In the first case, we illustrate an example of an introductory phase activity in an outdoor lesson. The case example captures the consideration by the educator in making an introductory activity inclusive for an individual with physical disabilities. In the second case example, we showcase an example that engages with the intermediate phase of outdoor education to demonstrate that inclusivity requires educators to have an awareness of the needs of learners, not just specific, but broader, inclusive practice considerations for obvious traits that are sometimes taken for granted. Gender, for example, are often taken for granted in the context of an inclusive class. In the third case, we showcase an example that engages with outdoor education at the advanced phase. We want to highlight how range of needs changes according to learning objective and students. Of course, we're not saying that we can predict and control every element in a lesson, but it is important to be prepared. Educators need to be trained to a degree to effectively manage the different elements that may occur in an outdoor education lesson.
Training educators for outdoor education is essential to guide educational intervention that view the outdoor not just as a place, but as a space for enabling meaningful learning and building authentic relationship. This training should emphasize scientific, pedagogical, methodological, and social skills to address learners' diversity and improve educational practices. Educators must also understand their role as agent in promoting inclusion in education. Outdoor education requires a nuanced approach involving risk, adventure, and flexibility to manage the unexpected in order to maximize learning experiences. Different contexts must be considered as they influence the educational approaches, whether formal or informal, natural or urban. Trainings for outdoor education should include evaluating practices and experimenting with observation, planning, and documentation for direct experiences in outdoor setting. It should also include first-hand outdoor experiences to develop authentic understanding and allow for personal reflection on outcome and processes. Educators with meaningful outdoor experiences are more likely to develop essential skills of risk assessment and attitudes such as self-confidence that are complementary to outdoor education.
With any form of activity, there comes with it some types of risks. So some risks are avoidable, some are not, but the awareness of the risks that may be present is important. In the chapter that we prepared, we looked at different types of risks. Risks as something that should be managed, inherent risks that are part of the activity and unavoidable, and perceived risks as awareness that is needed to spot danger. While inherent risk is something that may not be avoidable, it is important to consider the value of the risk experience. The activity of swimming, for example. Of course, you can manage risks by choosing the depth of the pool, but you simply can't totally take away the risk by removing the water, that of which would take away the purpose of the learning experience in itself. The risk element is a valuable learning experience in itself, as it allows learners to recognize the difference between risk and danger. This builds decision-making skills that involves responsibility, courage, and resilience. The chapter provides simple templates such as risk assessment and consent forms that can be used as a reference or a guide that beginning teachers can refer and adapt from.
Outdoor education can present uncertainties in parents and caregivers regarding the safety of their children. This can make them hesitant to give their consent for outdoor education.
How do you address concerns from parents or caregivers about the risks associated with outdoor play?
How I address it?
Mm-hmm.
What do you mean with that?
If you have concerned parents
who come to me?
Who come to you and say, well, this kindergarten, they have this risky play and I'm not sure if I should send my child there, and would you send your child, or what would you say to those concerned parents?
Well, I would say that I in some way understand their, worries about their own children or own child, because that's natural. It's the most valuable kind of thing or person in your life, and of course you want to protect it, he or she. And we know from research that protecting their child for parents is really important. We don't want anything or something to hurt them, and we don't want them to have bad feelings. Still, we also know from research that parents want their children to be resilient, to be independent, to be, have a bit of grit or, resistance in them, and a lot of, kind of characteristics like that. So they want them also to grow up to become confident, strong, and independent persons. And risky play would kind of fuel all of those characters. So talking with parents who are worried, I would start talking about that. So what do you want for your kid? I know you want to protect him or her, but what kind of, character or skills do you want for your kid now and when they grow up? And then you can start talking about those, because I'm sure some of those, like being independent, resilient, standing up for their own rights, things like that would be mentioned by parents. So and then to start talk about the benefits of risky play, and also what the children miss if they're not allowed to engage in risky play. And also I would say, so that would of course be a good argument for risky play being one of the means to actually allow children to develop those characteristics that their parents want for them. I would also focus on how the experience that children get with risks and handling risks and assessing risks through risky play is really important for their risk assessment and risk management skills when they come out in the world and are on their own and need to both assess and handle risks on their own. When parents or teachers are no longer there to hoover over them and tell them what is dangerous and grab them out of situations that could be risky. So one day, I also often use the example, one day you have to let them out in traffic alone. And as a parent, at least I thought that for my kids, I wanted them to know how to navigate with other moving objects, to know that they could assess that, and also to, move their own body between or among other moving objects, and all that they got from engaging in risky play. So it's kind of an insurance for providing them the skills that they need to survive.
As parents and caregivers play a significant role in education, it is essential to fully capitalize their full potential as partners in outdoor education. It is vital to give them opportunity to see for themselves the benefit of outdoor learning by inviting them to outdoor experiences with the class. In this way, they can better understand the purpose of the activity and might be more comfortable to give their consent for outdoor education.
If we think of the target audience, so new teachers all over the world, is there a message that you would have for them?
I usually, when I talk to groups of teachers or becoming teachers, I usually ask them how many did something that made it tickle in your tummy during the last week. And then very few, but some are raising their hand. And then when they go home, I give them a homework that everyone, at least within a week, should approach a situation that gives you the feeling of tickle in your tummy. Because that's one of the expressions that children have, the experience that they have. It's about the scary, funny thing, but it gives them a bodily feeling where it's tickling in their tummy. So they can feel it, like, as a feeling in their tummy. And I usually give teachers the homework of approaching a situation like that, because I think if it's a long time since you felt that experience, which is a little bit unpleasant, but it is really pleasant also, and when you manage it, it's really pleasant. And I think teachers need to experience that themselves regularly to be able to understand why children are seeking these experiences. So I think it's it's our responsibility as teachers to not forget what that feels like, so we can meet children knowing what they are looking for, knowing how important it is for them to have these feelings.
Thank you for listening to the podcast of All Means All. In the show notes, there is a link to the chapter in the open textbook. There you can find the transcript of the video and more information on the topic.